今集同學會人物誌依然由 Andrew 同我哋分享，不如問下佢對保險國際化有咩睇法？
The reinsurance industry is very international in its nature. One of the foundation principles of insurance is the law of large numbers, under which the greater the number of risks you put into the pool, the more predictable it is, the less volatile it is, and the more stable your result is. This applies geographically as well as in terms of large numbers. So, for example, if you're insuring against earthquake risk in China and in the US simultaneously, there's a low risk of an earthquake in China one year. There's also a low risk of an earthquake in the US one year. There's an even lower risk of them both happening at the same time, and you have the pool of premiums being larger because you're drawing it from two places. And this principle is applied throughout the industry. So people seek to source risk from as many different geographies as possible. I work for a company, a reinsurance company here, who have around 80 staff, in which they have around 15 different nationalities. We have clients in over 60 countries. I personally have worked in London and in Singapore and in Hong Kong in around a 15-year career. I've also visited clients in Canada, the US, the Bahamas, the UK, Ireland, France, Switzerland, Italy, and India, amongst others. And I wouldn't say that's untypical for brokers and underwriters in the reinsurance industry, because I say people are trying to seek risk from as many different places as possible. So it's a very international industry. It's normally interesting working in a big reinsurance company for the variety of things you do, and it's intellectually interesting. It's a complicated problem you're dealing with regularly. So the example I gave before, you're having to quantify the risk of something very difficult to quantify, say an earthquake in Japan. What's the probability of that happening, how bad it will be, and then figuring out what the economic consequences of that will be, and then figuring out how you can protect it, how you facilitate insurance working how it should, which is building in economic resilience and getting people back on their feet and going again as quickly as possible after a disaster. So it's an interesting intellectual problem. The day-to-day stuff is also interesting. There's varied problems. You've got to understand statistics, you've got to understand sort of contractual law, you've got to be good at the negotiation between the two different parties, and you've got to have the client relationship management and marketing. So it's a really varied industry with roles that can be very varied, and it's an intellectually interesting environment to be in, full of clever people. It's a good place to be.